Are you doubting that you're ever going to sleep again? Or are you feeling like this is all there is to life? Or maybe you're even asking yourself, will this even work for me? Now, these are really common questions and thoughts that will creep in and take over our mind if we're not careful. And whether you are parenting or taking care of a dog or any other life situation that comes up, it can be this frustration when we come to the end of our rope that leaves us feeling hopeless. But I want to share with you that this can actually be a good place to be ready to take inspired action. In our most sleep-deprived moments, our children will teach us exactly what we need in order to learn and grow into who we were created to be. These are the loving lessons we will learn whether we were wanting to or not. I'm Irene Googe, your sleep coach, and I'm on mission to educate parents on how to help their young children sleep. Welcome to the journey. Hello, and welcome back to the Loving Lessons Learned podcast. And yes, we are talking about taking inspired action when we get to the end of our rope. Because sometimes we can feel stuck. And today I want to share with you a little bit about our dog journey. Yes, I'm back to talking about Scout, and it's actually been interesting to see how many parallels there are of taking care of having a dog and what that's like in the parenting journey. Sometimes I feel like I'm back in the newborn and toddler season, both at the same time. And maybe it's like having two kiddos because I literally feel that all day long. I really empathize with my mamas in those seasons right now. I wanted to just share a little bit about how it's going with Scout, what's been going on. To be honest, it's not been going very well. We've actually been in a season where it got really bad. Those of you who know, if you've listened to my part 1 and part 2 of this podcast series, he was a rescue in December, and it's been a journey. I definitely feel like right now I have definitely overcome my fear of dogs. I don't have that angst that I did. And I think a lot of that has to do with me being able to practice and taking those next steps to work through some of those fears. But I will say that it got really bad. I would say that January, February, and March were really hard months for us, especially with Scout. And it was so bad that I actually had to reach out for help, which is not a bad thing, but I just didn't realize like that frustration point that I had gotten to. And I posted in a Facebook group looking for recommendations. I said, hey, we have a Beagle Hound mix that we rescued in December. He's been neutered and dealt with heartworm injection. We are near the end of the recovery period because, of course, we had to keep him calm. And that was really hard because he was not a very calm, relaxed dog. He actually has a fear of missing out on anything. He also does not like to sleep. I was like, he is like my perfect sleep coaching client. And I was realizing like, so we're getting to the end of this, but he was getting very bitey. He was dumping his food. He was jumping all over the furniture. And anytime somebody would leave the room, he would just get all barky and like we couldn't even stop him. And so we were literally at the end of our rope. I also said, I'm looking for someone who's like a local Caesar Milan, someone who can help us understand dog communication and behaviors, because these have been challenges for our family. There were a bunch of wonderful recommendations. I went and did the thing that we all do when we're dealing with a situation or problem. We go to Google and we start reading and researching. And I do want to just share, like, I had gotten to this place where I wasn't able to actually work. And I'm also a postpartum doula. So I work at nighttime. So I need to protect my rest during the daytime. And everything was getting hard and I was getting behind and the house is getting messy. And my son, who was being homeschooled, was even falling behind with the work that he needed to do. So we were just like not in a good place. And my son has community days on Tuesdays. And so I'm home alone trying to do work and rest while taking care of a dog. And I know, like most of you out there, maybe if you have a dog, like this is not a challenge for you. And I have been in homes and I have seen where like dogs are not a challenge, but this dog has been a challenge. And so I literally was in tears, just sobbing, because I was at this point of like, I can't do anything. Like my life is literally taking care of this dog, and I'm trying to figure out how to train this dog and do the things that this dog needs, and nothing is working. And I'm literally at the end of my rope. And one of the things that I share with my families when it comes to sleep coaching or any kind of parenting struggles that we have is we want to not engage in the power struggle. You know, there's 3 areas where our children will engage in a power struggle with us, and that's potty training, eating, and sleeping, right? The big 3 areas that we struggle with the most. And the goal is to not engage. Don't be invited into that struggle. Like, say, nope, I'm not, decline from that. And I was engaging into power struggles with our dog Scout. And it was so irritating. It was like I knew what I needed to do, but I couldn't do it. I didn't know how. And it brought me to tears. And I knew that like what we were doing was not working. And everybody in our house had different opinions and perspectives to share. And that was really hard too. So I'm sitting there in tears and looking up these different resources. And I finally texted Brian Azell, and his tagline says, shedding anxiety and unleashing potential. And I'm reading through his site and I'm resonating with everything that he's saying, because he's giving just a lot of good tips. Things that I was like, yes, that's what I teach. Yes, this is what I teach. I was like, why is it that I actually teach some of the things he's talking about? I'm like, I know this, but I'm feeling stuck. I'm paralyzed. And so what's really happening is that I'm being overwhelmed with doubt, and I'm being overwhelmed with frustration and anger and sadness and grief. But I just didn't realize it until like this culminating big cry situation. Well, I realize that I have been on a journey also of overcoming my anxiety and depression in my life. And I was realizing that it was kind of trying to creep back in, but I realized like I had tools, but this dog made it feel like I couldn't use my tools and I was not able to take action. So we ended up hiring Brian. And man, can I just tell you what a game changer that was? He came to our house and immediately, like within like the first 30 minutes, he gave us so much good information, understanding who our dog was. He was a hunting dog. The videos I had sent, like the things that we were doing were actually counterproductive to what Scout actually needed. And so, you know, a lot of times when you start talking to other dog owners and they're like, oh, this is what we do, right? Everybody has advice and opinions, but they don't know and understand our dog and our situation. And so what was really helpful was Brian helped us understand what our dog Scout needed and what to do for him. And because we changed up the rhythms and routines, that changed everything. And it was like, oh, like we could do this again. Well, he came for that one visit. We got empowered. We were feeling really good about the progress we made. But then we kind of got stuck again. And I think, again, this is one of those things where we don't realize sometimes we have to keep practicing. And I thought, again, I knew some of this stuff, right? Like, because we know it, but sometimes following through and doing it is a whole other piece. And I realized that, again, in this moment, it is okay to ask for help. And it's actually recognizing when you need support, that it is a sign of strength and not of weakness. And I know that day that I was crying on the couch, because we were actually in a season where life was just so busy, we did not have the time to schedule this in between sports, school, nonstop going, just a busy season of work. That probably should have been our first sign that that's probably why we're having some of the issues we are. But we just kept pushing and doing more instead of pausing to see and get the help we actually needed. And so that was a big game changer. And so I realized in that moment when I texted Brian again and was like, hey, we're feeling stuck. Here's what's happening. And while we improved some behaviors with our first visit, and that was, again, life-changing already, that first visit, the second visit, it was like, we really had to practice the coming and going, like working on the anxiety in the house, like when anyone would leave, because as soon as the boys or my husband would leave, he would get barky and like he could not get himself to calm. And then it felt like all we were doing was going outside, doing these walks, and not able to get him to a place where he could settle and be okay. So Brian was here with us. He helped coach and work us through some new trainings. And again, this was amazing. And investing in ourselves was crucial for growth. And it was important to really learn what we didn't know. And, I had watched all these videos, like I had seen some of these like crate training type of strategies. But I realized in that moment, one of the things I observed about Brian as he was doing it was I didn't give it enough time in the process. And I was missing a step to like kind of finish things up in the routine when we were teaching Scout about getting into the crate, out of the crate, in the crate, out of the crate. Because one of the recommendations that I had found was like, make the crate this like, I gotta love this space. This is my Disney World of places. And I was like, yes, you want to be in here, and creating this environment of like, yes, I'm okay, I'm safe, just like we would do for our children. And so again, not knowing and understanding dog was probably my biggest challenge and obstacle. So, investing in this personal growth for myself, understanding the education and the training that I was missing, having the support of a professional was huge. And so I just want to give a big shout out to Brian Azell, because I feel like it was such a game-changing moment. And I will tell you that like that Tuesday before he came, I was in buckets of tears. I was like ready to let go of this dog. Like, I don't care what happens to him. I was at the end of my rope. But then texting him already had given me so much peace and relief, knowing that like there was hope, and realizing that in these moments where we have that frustration, that is oftentimes a really good signal that we need to ask for help. And sometimes we need to figure out, what do I need to invest in? And it could look like investing our money. It could also look like investing our time. And so that was something that was very eye-opening. We ended up having Brian come on my birthday. And I was like, you know what? Like, this was literally the only time frame that we had available, and it all worked out. But sometimes we have to make those decisions along the way and make it happen. So I want you to think about yourself. Like, have you gotten yourself to a place where you've just been so frustrated? And I want you to think about that, like one next step. Like, oftentimes when we get to this place where we're at the end of our rope, I actually believe that this is where we can find that we need to take inspired action. And it was literally saying a prayer and noticing like, I need things to open up, and I need to ask for help, and I need to say yes to taking that next step to make it happen, even if it was not convenient. And I realized also in this moment that like going through life, going through these seasons of really hard, these are just series of practice sessions in order for us to deal with the change that's happening around us. Because you know what? Like, change is 100% guaranteed. I had no idea how owning a dog, taking in such an anxious little rescue dog, was going to change our life. Like, I knew owning a dog was going to be life-changing, but I had no idea how much it was going to change things for our home. And so we know that change is guaranteed, but how we deal with it is the learning process that we get to go through. And so I am happy to report that after our second visit with Brian, things have really turned around and we are in a much better place, and we are not looking to let go or get rid of our dogs. So thank you, Brian, for equipping us with tools. And we know that we'll be back reaching out because I know I still have more skills to learn. I'm still needing to learn a little bit more about play for dogs, and understanding more about dog communication. So in these frustrating moments, whatever you are dealing with, like, I'm always curious, like, what loving lesson are we here to learn? What is it that you might be in right now in this season of your life? Are you dealing with something frustrating? And so I want you to think about, like, who can you ask for help? Where do you need to maybe invest some money or time to make that happen, to help you go from frustration to making progress? So I want you to think about for yourself, where are you coming from? Or maybe you're in a place of frustration, and where can you take that next step to make some progress? Because again, those little sneaky thoughts that come in, and I will say this one was doubt. Doubt was another little one that was causing some fear, saying, hey, what if this doesn't work? What if you can't figure it out? What if this is just what life is supposed to be like? And it kept us stuck. But I didn't want this to keep being what was holding us back from having success and being able to do life like we needed to in our home. So tell me what frustrating thing is happening in your home right now. Is it a parenting challenge? Is it a challenge in your relationships, finances, marriage? You know, there's so many different areas of our life. And one of the things we don't realize is that when we have these frustrations, it does rob us from our sleep. One thing that I didn't share earlier was that it was keeping me up at night and causing me panic attacks. Again, because I was so overwhelmed because I wasn't able to do all the things that I thought I needed to do. But again, we learn in these moments that sometimes when we ask for help, we invest in ourselves, we can take inspired action, and we can go from that frustration and begin making progress. So stay tuned. Thanks for listening to the journey here with Scout. And let me know what your frustrations are. Comment below and share this with someone who might need a little bit of encouragement, that might need to know that there is hope on the other side of that frustration. Thanks for tuning into today's show. You can see all of the details and show notes below. And as you go out into your day, I hope that you'll make it your mission to be calm, confident, and rested as you lead today. Sweet dreams.